Now remember, the purpose of this video is for you to get help, not to just copy what I'm doing. So make sure you try to work through the problem. If you get stuck, then watch the video to help you figure out what you need to do next. I'm going to work through these quickly. If you need to pause it when it's time. So the first problem, number one, is 727 divided by 24. And let's start with this here. And we're going to think, if I have 7 apples, how many groups of 24 can I get from 7? Well, I can't get any. Since I start with a 0 here, now I think about the number as being 72. How many groups of, or if I have 72 apples, how many groups of 24 can I get from 72? The answer to that is 3. Need my pen. 3. Then, so I just divided. My next step then is to multiply. 3 times 24 is 72. After I multiply, I subtract. 72 subtract 72 is 0. After I subtract, I compare. 0 is less than 24. And then my last thing to do is bring down. So I bring down my 7. And if I bring down, I have to go all the way back up to the top. 7 divided by 24. I can't get any groups of 24 from 7. So I put a 0 up at the top, multiply. 0 times 24 is 0. Subtract, 7 minus 0 is 7. Compare, this has to be less than the divisor. 7 is less than 24. There's nothing more to bring down, so my remainder for that problem is 7. Moving on to the next problem. Number 2 is 930 divided by 22. Starting with my hundreds place, my greatest place. If I have 9 apples, how many groups of 22 can I get? Can't get any. Then, since I started with the 0 here, I now there we go. Now I slide over and use the next 2, so I have 93. If I have 93 apples, can I make a group of 22? Yes, I can. At school, remember we talked about rounding these, so 22 rounds to 20. For this, I think, how many groups of 2 can I get from 9? How many groups of 2 can I get from 9? Well, I can get 4 groups of 2 from 9, which means I can get about 4 groups of 20 from 93. So I'm going to take my 22 and I'm going to do some multiplying. I'm going to do 22 times 4. 22 times 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 4 is 8. So 22 times 4 is 88. 88 is less than 93. And I couldn't add another 22 to 88 and still be less than 93. So there are 4 groups of 22 and 93, and so that's my dividing. Then I multiply. 4 times 22 is 88. I subtract. 93 minus 88 is 5. Compare. This number is less than 22. So then I go to bring down the 0. I have 50. Brought down, so I go back up to the top. Now I start to divide from the bottom. 50 divided by 22 is, I know that I can get 2, because 2 quarters is 50 cents, so 22 is pretty close to that. So that's how I came up with my 2. If I can't do 22 times 2 in my head, I'm going to come over here and do 22 times 2. 22 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So 44. 2 times 22 is 44. Then I subtract. 50 minus 44 is, oops, I did that wrong. 4, and then 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 4 minus 4 is 0. There's nothing more to bring down, so I have a remainder of 6. So 930 divided by 22 is 42, remainder 6. Number 3 is 561 divided by 34. 561 divided by 34. Start with dividing. Greatest place is the hundreds for this one again. 5 divided by 34. If I have 5 apples, I can't make a pile of 34. So now I start to think of the next one of 56. 56 divided by 34. Well, 2 30s would be 60. And I know that I can't get another one in, so there's just going to be one group of 34 and 56. 1 times 34 is 34. Then I subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. 22 is less than 34. And then I bring down the 1. Once I bring down again, I go all the way back up and I go through the same process. 221 divided by 34. If I round here, and I'm going to look at the 3 and start with this 2. Well, I can't get any groups of 3 from 2. So then I look at 3 and 22, and I know that there are 7 3s in 22. So I'm going to try 34 times 7. 4 times 7 is 28. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. So that's 238, which is too big. That number has to be smaller than this. So I'm going to try 6. 34 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 6 is 18. Plus 2 is 20. That's 204, which is small enough that will work. So 221 divided by 34 gives me about 6. 6 times 34 is 204. Then I subtract. 11 minus 4 is 7. 1 minus 0 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So I have 17, and that's less than 34. There's nothing more to bring down. So my answer for this problem is 16, remainder 17. 16, remainder 17. Erasing this one. Number 4 is 558 divided by 14. 558 divided by 14. Start through my process. If I have 5 apples, can I make a group of 14? No, I can't. So I go out and I think of 55. If I have 55 apples, can I make a pile of 14? Yes, I can. Now, if I rounded this one, 14 would round to 10, which would tell me 5. But I'm thinking in my head, 14 is probably too big. And I think 4 is even too big. So I'm going to try 3. 14 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 42 is going to be the number that works, because if I tried to add 14 more to this, that'd be 56, and it would be too big. So 55 divided by 14 would give me 3 groups, 3 whole groups. 3 times 14 is 42. Then I subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. That's 13. 13 is less than 14. I can bring down the 8. So I go back up to the top to do division. 138 divided by 14. Well, as I look at that, 14 times 10 is 140. So can't use 10, and you can't put a 2-digit number up here. So I'm going to try 9. 14 times 9. 4 times 9 is 36. 1 times 9 is 9. Plus 3 is 12. 126. So 138 divided by 14 gives me 9 groups of 14. 9 times 14 is 126. I subtract 8 minus 6 is 2. 3 subtract 2 is 1. 1 subtract 1 is 0. 12 is less than 14. There's nothing more to bring down, so that gives me a remainder of 12. Now, I had originally planned on working all the problems, but as I was working through, I really would like for you to try number 5 now on your own. You can always look back at other ones to see if that helps, but I would like for you to try number 5 on your own. Hopefully this helped you out, and we'll see you tomorrow.